Hi, I'm Randy Hollenbeck, and this is the Music Roundtable. Today on the show, we have Niles and Jacob from metalcore band Phantom Code.
What's up, Randy? How's it going?
Good to be here.
I just wanted to dig into some history. What got you into music? Was there a band or a song or what inspired you to get into music?
That is a good question. Um,
You'd think it'd be like a pretty straightforward, instant answer. I have to think about it. Do you have an answer, Niles?
uh, yeah, kind of. I think. Yeah, I think I know how I got into music. Um, I mean, I feel like I've always kind of been into music. Like, I grew up like my mom and dad listening to like my dad is like big into like Aerosmith, Judas Priest, AC/DC. So I've always been like around like rock and roll music and stuff like that. So I think that's kind of why I ended up gravitating towards like emo, like scene metalcore kind of music because I just really crave that like high energy. Um, Guitar for me was mostly because I had friends that were playing guitar and I wanted to feel cool and not left out. So I just started learning and I wasn't very good at all, but I don't know. I think playing guitar and learning guitar and like starting to learn like some of like the bands that I liked a lot at the time, like All American Rejects, Hawthorne Heights and stuff. I think that's what really solidified like the love for music for me was kind of through learning to play guitar.
I'm thinking about, yeah, I'm thinking about the early days, and I remember vividly the song "Smooth" by Santana with Rob Thomas on vocals. I don't know why, but my dad had this Santana CD, and that CD, I forget which one it is exactly. It must have been like '97 or something like that. And I would just play it all the time, and I loved it so much. And a friend of mine and I, we would like put on these little concerts where we were just like lip syncing to whatever CDs like my dad had around, and we would like make them come in at the end of the day, and we'd perform for them in the living room. And I must have been like 5 at the time, so I think like that element of it was just instinctual from an early age. And then I just checked the date to confirm, and actually I'm the singer of Phantom Code, but I started by playing drums. And I don't know if it's coincidence or not, but I started playing drums the same year School of Rock came out. So I think that like I was already on the path, but then that movie came out, and it was just like, this is the coolest thing ever, and I'm gonna do this forever. And so far, I have. So I think, yeah, there was something like instinctual from an early age, and then uh, I think I just started playing at the right time when other friends were playing too, and it just clicked. Like, sometimes those things just click, and you never look back.
Musical influences.
Ooh, I am kind of all over the place with musical influences. I think the majority of us, I think all of us in the band, honestly, including like Jacob, are kind of all over the place with like influences. Even in our music, like I don't know if you'd be able to like tell, but Like I have like guilty pleasure for like pop music and stuff. Like I've been really into that artist like Ashniko. She's like kind of like just weird dark pop, and I don't know what it is. It just gets me so hyped. And it's funny to, like I do like some audio production stuff, and you think pop music is so like simple, like it comes across like so simple, but there's so many layers to like those songs that you wouldn't like think about. And I think that's what's really intriguing to me, like about pop music in general. But I also like, I'm a big fan of like post rock and like lo-fi music, like God is an Astronaut, Explosions in the Sky, This Will Destroy You, stuff like that, which I try to incorporate into like our songs a lot with like ambient like layers and textures and stuff, and like production elements, just to make things like interesting or kind of like make the sound like wider or like bigger. And then obviously we like metalcore. I think that's pretty apparent. But those are like some of my biggest like influences, like stylistically, anyways.
I think for me, Niles, you touched on a lot of it already. I mean, most of the music I really respond to is somewhere within the rock and metal world, but I agree that there are a lot of cues you can take from other places. And uh, yeah, as Niles said, like the pop thing is very much a huge influence on the way I write melodies. And I don't know, I'm at a stage where I want to write melodies that are as catchy as possible and get stuck in your head and are just sort of that like earwormy sing along type choruses. And to Niles, to your point, like you think it's so easy to write that, but it's almost like a science. And that's what I'm so drawn to, especially in like modern country music, which some of which I like and some of which I don't. But some of the songwriting is just, those are world class songwriters writing country songs. And I try and take some of those like scientific cues, I would say, from that genre and just from more pop leaning genres in terms of the vocals that I like to write.
And I'll say, I like, sorry to cut you off, Randy. Jacob sends me like, I've been like mixing the last few like songs that we've done. And when Jacob sends me his vocal stems, because we do pretty much everything remotely, woo, um, this man sends me like an insane amount of vocal stems. Like, as one person, it's like Backstreet Boys level, like harmonies. Like, I get harmonies, I get screams, I get like the main vocals. He always has like choirs, does his own like vocal effects. I mean, he's truly doing the Lord's work for me because I don't have to do any of that stuff. But I get like 30 to 40 tracks of just vocals that I have to like mix. And that's very like pop centric, just having layers and layers of like harmonies and stuff like that. And I think on our last song too, I went to go, I went to start mixing it, and I was prepping it and singing along to like the chorus. And I started singing like a harmony that he didn't actually track. And I'm like, well, guess I'm about to add this in there. And we're going to have like a 48 layer cake of vocal tracks. It's insane how much goes into like making a song these days. I'm surprised my computer's even still alive.
Okay. How did the band form?
I guess that's a me question. Um, so, long story short-ish, the band formed during like the pandemic, kind of just out of, I had nothing else to do with my life, uh, other than putting 200 hours into Monster Hunter World. But we won't get into that because that's a lot. Um, but I come from playing in a lot of like pop punk bands or like more like indie rock kind of stuff, and I just kind of was missing playing heavier music and like playing like breakdowns and stuff like that. So I got like one of those little like Scarlet solos during the pandemic. I got like my first 7 string and was like, okay, let's try to do this thing and let's try to write some like heavy music. And I very much just ripped off Architects for like the first few songs because that's what you do when you start writing metalcore. You go to Architects or Northlane and you just write whatever they wrote, just a little different. And my drummer, our drummer Robbie, him and I played in a band called Gardenside together prior to this, and I had kind of like just shown him like a thing that I was working on. I think it ended up being like one of our first songs, um, and he was like, "Oh, dude, like that's sick. Like if you want to like turn this into a thing, like I'd be down to do that." And I was just kind of like, "Sure, why not? Let's do the thing." And then fast forward, we kind of like we started it with like a different name and kind of went through like a couple different like vocalists until we got to Jacob. And I ended up taking down like the old songs that we had with different vocalists because when we got Jacob, I was kind of just like, this is a new band. Like we should just start over like as a new band. And I mean, like we had like no followers under like the old thing or anything like that. So it was kind of perfect time to do it. And then we got our other guitar player, Tyler, who plays in that pop punk band Makeout as well. But he was also doing like a metalcore side project. And then that kind of like dissolved. So I saw my window of opportunity to steal him. And he is my better half. Like writing songs with him is so fantastic. Comes out so like we work so well together. Often he like hears things that I like wouldn't hear, and it's been chef's kiss ever since we got this lineup.
Jacob, how did you find the band? Did they audition you or what?
That's a good question. I haven't thought about this in a while, but also I don't know, Niles, if I realized that you weren't doing any metal prior to this band. I guess that makes sense in hindsight, but so during the pandemic, as I mentioned, I grew up playing drums, and that's still probably like the instrument I consider myself the most advanced at. And obviously during the pandemic, all the drumming gigs that I had just completely were gone. And I had just put out my first solo album, which was the first time I was like singing on record really. And I joined a different metal band during the pandemic and kind of was just gaining this confidence in my voice, especially in this genre. And I think I had actually reached out because for some reason I followed Robbie, our drummer, on Instagram because I think he was a local drummer, so we were just connected somehow. And I saw that he was looking for a singer, and I was like, oh, I'm super down. Like, what do you guys need? And I think at the time the band was a little bit heavier and a little bit like more on the screaming side and less on the singing side. And at the time, I felt like I was sort of flipped in terms of my skill set. So I don't think it was the right fit at the time, and they found another guy. But I think after maybe 6 months, or I don't remember how long it was. I vividly remember this because I saw I had an unread DM from Niles, and I knew exactly what it was because we had never really chatted that much, but I just had this feeling. I was like, oh, like they need a new singer, and that's probably what he's about to ask me. And I was super stoked because I never told you that, but I had been admiring what they were doing and felt like it was a cool group and a cool sound. So I don't know if there was a proper audition or anything. I feel like I just sort of tracked the first song and y'all were into it, and we just went on from there.
Yeah, I think that's pretty spot on because I remember I saw you did there's 2 covers that I saw you did. You did a Spirit Box cover and you did an Era cover, and I saw those. I sent them to Robbie, and I was like, "This is our guy." And I didn't even ask Robbie. I just DM'd you and was like, "Yo." And then yeah, I think you just tracked vocals on our song. It's like 2289, and I was like, "Yep, this is it. Let's go. Let's do the thing."
Yeah, good. I forgot about the cover. That definitely played into it. But yeah, it all worked out.
How did you come up with the band name?
Oh, honestly, coming up with this one was kind of a pain in the butt. Like, none of us could really decide on anything. We had a massive list. I think we had over like probably 20 to like 30 ideas for like a band name. Because, like I said, we started with a different band name. It was Spirit Wave, which, as you can assume, with Spirit Box gaining as much success as they did, we were like, this is probably not the move. So, yeah, I think we racked our brains for probably like a couple weeks. And we kind of just were like, because we like the two syllable, like the two word kind of like band name. And then I don't know, I think we kind of just, one of us wrote down like Phantom Code, and I think we like shopped it to like friends to see what they thought. And I think like the vast majority of people were like, that sounds hard. You guys should do that one. So we were just like, the friends win.
That's definitely how it went down. I think when you think about those two words like phantom and code, I feel like we were just trying to come up with words that were sort of in that same sphere of like our sound has this kind of this like glitchy sort of production at times, and I think that was like the code element is we wanted something that was like kind of technical, and the phantom element was sort of the atmospheric elements we have in our sound, or sort of the the synths we use, or things of that nature. So in addition to it sounding cool, I feel like the words just sort of aligned with what we were going for anyway with the music, which I feel like is kind of a rare thing, that the band name actually does resonate specifically with like the sonic palette of the band. But in our case, I really feel like that's why we landed on that one. And I think there was maybe a couple other finalists, but that one really, once we sent it to friends and everyone was like, yeah, that's way better. We just went with that.
What city are you based out of?
Los Angeles. All of us are in LA.
Okay. We're going to talk about a couple of your songs here. You had Replicant, and at the beginning it feels like there's a progressive type of guitar in there.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, and you have a guest on there, Hunter Black. Who is he?
So Hunter, if you look him up on TikTok, Mans has so many followers. And I think, funny reason, like, I know he had like a handful before, but there was this thing for Tesco in the UK where you could audition to be the voice of their checkout machine. And he did the audition, but in his like deathcore vocals. And that like skyrocketed his like followers just because it was funny. But I've been like friends with him via like social media for a few years, and him and I had like talked in the past, like, oh, like we should like collaborate on something. We should do like some music together. And we just never, there was never really like a good moment for that to happen, or like a good project, until we did this song, which is probably one of our like heaviest songs that we have. And I wrote that really ignorant breakdown that I feel like shouldn't work in that song whatsoever, but for some reason it just kind of does. And we talked about having like a guest vocalist on songs before. So I pitched Hunter for that breakdown because I don't think Jacob or I can really do those kinds of screams because they're just disgusting. And I don't think I have it in me. But I think he was like perfect for that. He was super stoked when I hit him up to like ask him to do it. But he's a Chicago-based artist. To answer your actual question, um, he plays. I'm like blanking so hard on the band that he plays in, but he plays guitar in a band that's very like Every Time I Die esque. They're very sick, and I'm so sorry, Hunter, that I forgot the name of your band. I'm having a huge brain fart right now. but he also does like solo stuff under his moniker Hunter Black as well, and he is just a fantastic human being.
I wanted to ask you about this song. Is this song about people always on like their iPads and iPhones and they're just always connected? Is that kind of like what the song's about a little bit?
It's funny when Niles and Tyler write songs, I often use whatever the working title of that song is as lyrical inspiration, which probably isn't the way to do it, but it gives me like some jumping off point to like come up with a theme to write about because there are only so many things to write about. And the song specifically is about how so much modern metalcore sounds the same, which is funny because it's like a modern metalcore song, which kind of played into the irony of it. But I don't know, it kind of gets back to what we talked about earlier with just, all of the sort of algorithmic metal that is fed to us is so similar, and you could just throw on like a, Spotify metalcore playlist, and I can't even like tell which band is which, and everyone's using the same like sample libraries and the same tones, and I think a lot of that is really good, but it also just contributes to this process where we're all sort of trying to achieve the same sound, which you know on one hand, that's sort of how you achieve success is if you can sound like a little bit like a band that someone's heard before, but a little bit different, then I think you're onto something. But at the same time, if you're just trying to use the song title to like replicate what other people are doing, then you know what are we doing if we're trying to make like great original music? So kind of playing into this idea of us being replicants, which is a Blade Runner term for like the robots in Blade Runner, basically. So yeah, using that little metaphor for modern metalcore.
Chasing nothing of value, just making promises, drowning in carbon copies. Everybody looks the same. Such cryptic confidence, masking inconsequence, feeling fed up with it. Borrowed noises, building castles out of code, retreating further. We run to the sound we know. Trace every inch of the outline. Neon hues blurred to black and white. We're one and the same on the outside. Imitations of archetypes. Failure doesn't feel earned when we take turns trading answers. Just look around and you will find we follow suit like a replicant.
I wanted to ask you a question. What do you think about AI being used in music?
I don't know if I have like a huge opinion on that as of right now. When it takes my job, then I'll probably have more of an opinion on it. Which I mean, I guess it kind of has to a point. I've listened to one of those like YouTube videos of the like AI generated like metalcore, and some of it's pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. For like an AI generated thing, it hurts my soul a little bit. But I do think there are like positive applications for it too, at least in like the audio production world. I know I haven't used it or tried it yet, but there's like specifically like a synth AI plugin. I think it's a plugin anyways. It's called Synth GPT, kind of like Chat GPT. And I believe you can just like type in a prompt like I want like this kind of sound or whatever, and it will pull up. I think like I haven't used it, so I don't know exactly how it works, but I think you type in like the prompt and it pulls up like a few different, I guess like synth tones or whatever that you can use that are in that like prompts like realm. And I think that's kind of cool because I know myself, they all call me the stuff guy because I love the production aspect. And I will sit for like an hour just going through sounds until I find the one that I think is like perfect. And the rest of the guys are not really like that, especially Tyler. He can't be bothered. He just picks something that's close and calls it a day. But I'm too OCD for that. So I think in like that sense, it's really cool. I think as like I don't know, as like a tool to maybe like help you get started. Like I kind of like AI, like lyric generation or something, just to give you like some inspiration. I think that's fine. But when it's like taking away like jobs of like creatives, then I think it's having more of like a negative impact, I guess.
I think there's a fine line between efficiency and eliminating creativity and critical thinking. And there, I say that because I studied journalism in college and I'm like very much a writer by trade. And so I think about this a lot where it's like I recognize that sometimes you just need, yeah, to get an idea, or you need like it's not efficient to write, X number of words when you could just have Chat GPT do it or whatever. But it takes away that critical thinking, that brainstorming, that muscle that you have to sort of create something from nothing. And that's what I worry about long term, is as this kind of tool, this kind of thing becomes more widespread, are we going to lose that sort of drive to try and create something and exercise those critical thinking skills? Because yeah, while it'd be great to just replace that hour you spend Niles searching for like the perfect synth or the perfect little like robot sound. It's something else to try and like really find exactly what you're looking for and have that vision in your head and then go and find it. So I don't know. I don't know if I have a strong take on it, but I worry that it will limit our ability to think critically and be creative in the future if we continue to just rely on something to like feed us information all the time.
We're gonna end up like the movie Wall-E or Idiocracy.
I think with AI, all it really can do is copy what has been done before. With us being more creative and stuff, we continue to progress. It could only copy what's done before and change that around. It can't make anything new.
That's a fair point. That's a fair view on it for sure.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
I'm irreplaceable, baby.
I wanted to talk about Crooked Dreams. I love the chorus and how it kicks in. Can you tell me a little bit about that song?
That was the first one with Tyler, right?
Yeah, so I actually didn't write a lot in that song. That was our first song with Tyler in the band, and I think it kind of spawned from like a demo that he had for his prior metalcore project. Um, I think I maybe wrote like the breakdown, and then there's like a little riff in there that I wrote just because he had like those blank spots, and he was kind of like hitting the wall with like the creative process there, and then I kind of just ripped something out. But that's like why I like having two songwriters in the band in general, is because we can play off of each other. Like if I hit a wall, he can jump in, vice versa. But I think that was a really great um, showcase of Tyler joining the band and his songwriting ability, because I truthfully did like 10% of that song.
Do you want to talk about the chorus a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, that's definitely one of my favorites. I don't like thinking about my process. We put that song out almost a year ago now. It was just another example of me trying to just write the catchiest melody I could come up with and beat what I had done before. That's something I kind of joke about, that like I want every song to be catchier than the last, which is probably impossible since I feel like we've hit a pretty high bar so far. But um, Niles and Tyler both, like, I usually get pretty completed demos but by the time I'm writing, so it's not like there's a ton of structural changes. I think lately we've done more in terms of structural changes, but anytime there's like a gap before the chorus, I'm always thinking about like, at what point do I want the vocals to come in? Do I want it to fill that gap? Do I want it to fill part of the gap? Do I want just a pure gap and then the vocals come in on the downbeat? But in this one, there was just an obvious like opening for the vocals to like, lead into that downbeat. So I really just tried to fill that space. And yeah, as you said, like write something that really like slaps you in the face when it drops in.
Yeah, I think honestly, Crooked Dreams might be one of my favorite choruses that we have, other than the new single that we're getting ready. I think that might be the winner for me.
In a paradise, this prison of vices where we descend. No power to refuse, just stuck in a loop till the story ends. I choose to say the disarray, the suffering of living every day. In a paradise, this prison of vices where we descend. Silent and light, no tears for amusement.
What do you guys got planned for this year?
Well, I'll say like what I was just saying, Tyler and Niles, like they'll get together and I know they're going to go hang out and work on music. And at the end of the night, they'll have like two fully complete, like fully produced songs ready to go. So much, so much of what's on my plate is like catching up to how quickly they work, because we have a huge bank of songs that I'm sort of picking and choosing from, what I resonate with most, what I want to prioritize, what I think will sound coolest. So to answer your question succinctly, tons of music, really trying to, I think we put out 2 or 3 songs last year and then 2 or 3 songs the year prior. So really want to build up that cadence a little bit more. And we've been doing singles, and I think we want to move more toward maybe a more complete body of work, whether that's an EP or an album, but we have the material to do it. So I think that's very much on the horizon for this year.
And to piggyback off of that, yeah, probably more writing because Tyler and I just don't know how to stop. So much so that before the last tour I was on, when I was playing for First and Forever, I think we got together every week before that. And by the time I had left, we had 5 new songs that we had sent. And Jacob, I'm pretty sure you had said, you guys got to stop, which is a good problem. Um, but yes, I think we're going to try to release more singles this year, maybe into a large body of work. Because I believe we only did like 2 last year. We've been kind of just getting our like ducks in the row, if you will. And then I know we all want to play live at some point. So I'm sure sometime this year, whenever everything lines up for us, we'll start putting together like a live show and getting our backtracks and everything in order. Luckily, Tyler already has like the brain and everything for that because he has all that stuff for make out. So that should be pretty easy. It'll just be a matter of finding the right show to hop on, or maybe hitting up some friends to see if we can do like a West Coast run or something. Because we're all like in our 30s, so we can't just kind of go out and do the DIY thing a ton because bills and Los Angeles rent, it's very real. So we got to play this like the smart way and hope that one of our singles blows up. or something. But I would like to do at least a couple music videos this year because we haven't done any. And I don't know if they're still like a super viable thing to do anymore, but I would like to do a couple just for funsies, really. But yeah.
Where can we get a hold of you? Facebook, Instagram?
I think we have all of that stuff, and I will say we are very bad at posting on Facebook. What is our Facebook? Just, I think if you just search Phantom Code, it should pop up, and then we have Instagram and TikTok. I'm literally looking on my phone right now because I don't remember what our handles are
Phantom Code Band.
on Instagram, and then it's probably something different on TikTok because we're great at that.
Yeah, Instagram, TikTok, I'd say are the places where we're most active. We're also pretty active on our personal Instagrams, and we curate a lot of that stuff through the band account. So, yeah, if you just find us on Instagram, all of our personal handles are there in the bio as well, and we're all pretty active.
Probably more active on our personals than the band account, truthfully. We should probably be more active on the band accounts. But again, we're all in our 30s. We got a lot of stuff going on. Cut us a break, everybody.
Okay. That's all the questions I have. Thanks for coming on the show today. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Just thanks for having us. Yeah, it's tough to be like an up and coming musician and finding ways to reach audiences as we've discussed. Like, you throw on Spotify radio and it's just going to feed you, big bands and big songs that you've already heard. And, platforms like this just allows us to connect with new people, and hopefully some new people find us this way and dig our music. So yeah, we appreciate you having us, Randy. This is really cool.
Yeah, I second that for sure. This is a really great thing that you're doing. Really honored and stoked to be on it and to make you laugh a couple times. Um, Thank you so much, dude. I think this is honestly, I think this is the first interview that we've done like this. So thank you for being our first. That sounds weird, but yeah.